continuing on with those two rules that we learned on yesterday's activities about interior and exterior sum in our polygons angles. Just a reminder of the two ideas that we came up with yesterday. First is that the interior angle sum for any polygon can be found using 180 times n minus 2, where n is the number of sides, right? And then we said exterior sum always will be 360. We went on to find that if you want to find just one of the angles, you divide by the number of sides that you have, right? The number of sides is equivalent to the number of angles, and that's what these two here say. Okay, in addition to that, I don't remember if it was this class period or the next one, but someone pointed out this idea right here. The sum of one internal angle and one external angle for our regular polygons, remember that's the ones where they're all equal angles, is always going to have a sum of 180 degrees. Okay, so if you add them together, they're supplementary. All right, so let's look at an example here. It says to find the sum of the measures of the interior angles of a convex octagon. Well, an octagon means it's going to have how many sides? 8. Okay, so we know we're looking at an 8-sided figure. Okay, well, if it wants the angle sum, that's the very first formula we found yesterday, right? So sum of interior formula is 180 times n minus 2. For us, what is n minus 2 going to be? 6. And what is 180 times 6? A lot of y'all have calculators in front of you. Good. So there's our angle sum for an octagon. All right. Now we also talked a little bit about how you could find specific angles. You can find specific number of sides if given the angle, right? Those were the two problems we did last on yesterday's activity. So this example says the sum of the measures of the interior angles of a convex polygon is 900. So they said the sum of interior is 900. So that's the same formula we just used, but this time we don't know how many sides it has. That's what we're looking for. So this would be us using the polygon interior angles formula. Which we just used up here. 180 times n minus 2, we currently don't know n, the number of sides, is equal to that sum, which they said was 900. So this time we weren't looking for each angle, they just wanted the sum, so we don't need to divide by anything. All right, so if I'm going to solve for n, what should we do first? Okay. So we divide both sides by 180. Okay, what is 900 divided by 185? So I'm going to have n minus 2 equals 5. And then our last step would just be to... So we end up figuring out that this thing had how many sides? 7. Okay, and they did tell us to classify it or name it by its number of sides. So what kind of a shape has 7 sides? Heptagon. Good. All right, the next section says you are going to use the exterior angle sum formula. Well, there's not really a formula. We know that the exterior sum is always what? 360. Good. So it is always 360 degrees. Okay. So it says, what is the value of x in the diagram shown below? So what could we set up in order to solve for x here? Perfect. So I'd have 86 plus x plus 3x plus 90 equals 360. All right, next thing we want to do is combine all of our like terms, right? So if I combine my x's, how many do we have? 4x. And if I combine my constants over there on the left, what do we end up with? Good. Oops. All right. And then we just solve like any other equation. So what do we get when we subtract? 184. Good. So I have 4x equals 184. So x must be 46. Nice. That'll be answer. All right, flip it over onto the back. And example 4 says to find the measures of an interior angle and an exterior angle of the indicated polygon. All right, so in a regular triangle, we know that the interior sum is what? Without doing any math, we already know that it's 180. Okay, so each interior would be 180 divided by 3. Okay, so what does that make each angle? 60. Okay. All right, and then each exterior, we know that the exterior sum is always what? 360. And I divide it also by 3, and I get 120. Okay. Let's see, on this next one, we've got a regular octagon. Let's start with exterior sum on this one. So we know exterior sum is always 360, and what do I need to divide it by in this case? 8, good. And what do we get? 45, good. All right, and for each interior, I could find the interior sum, right? That would be 180 times 6, right? 180 times 6, and then I'd have to divide it by 8, right? So two-step process. But on the front, in the box, what was the very last thing they mentioned in that box? Right. So if I already know that this one's 45, what could I do to find the interior? Subtract from 180. And what is 180 minus 45? 135. So just a shortcut if they ask you for both, because this process is a little bit shorter than if you were to actually plug it into the formula that we have. All right, here it says we have a regular 16 gone. So it's got 16 sides. All right, if you started with the interior this time, I would have to do 180 times what? 14 divided by 16. Okay, and what do we get there? Good. Okay, and I could do 360 divided by 16, or just like we did up here, I know that the two have to add up to 180, right? So my exterior angle would just be 180 minus 157.5, which would give me, good. So just an option. Typically, it's quickest if you find the exterior using the actual rule, because you just have to divide, and then you could subtract from 180 to find the interior. But it works both ways. If you find this one first, then you can subtract from 180 to find the other. All right. Okay, last section here. It says the number of sides of a polygon given each interior angle measure is what we're going to see in this example. It says how many sides does a regular polygon have if each interior angle measures 140 degrees? Okay, so if I was going to be solving this, it says my paper says something different than what this actually says. It says 171 degrees, doesn't it? Okay, all right, that's all right. So how many sides does a regular polygon have if each interior angle is 171? So first it asks for the formula for sum of interior and exterior angles. Well, what do we know that an interior and exterior angle have to add up to? 180. Okay, so one interior angle plus one exterior angle we know is going to equal 180 degrees. And we were told that one interior angle was how much? Okay, so I can substitute that in, it says, in this place right here. So I have 171 plus the exterior angle has to equal 180. And then we could just solve, right? So what would that mean that the exterior angle would have to be? 9. Good. Okay. And then to find the number of sides it has, we know that the formula for an exterior angle, we know the sum is always 360, right? And to find one angle, we would divide it by what? What do we divide? The number of sides, which we don't currently know, right? But apparently, in this case, the exterior angle measures how much? 9. So, oh, sorry. I guess I should have said that it is just the formula first, is what it wants in this blank. And then it says to substitute in. So then I would do my 360 divided by n equals the 9 degrees. And then we would just solve, right? Okay, so we would end up with, yes, just have to divide, right? We'd end up with n must be 40, so we could say that this thing has 40 sides, right? Okay, so today the only thing we're really adding to our tool belt is the fact that we now know that an interior and exterior angle have to have a sum of 180. So if they told you that an interior angle was 171, you could set it up like we did yesterday and do your 180 times n minus 2 over n equals 171, right? You could do that, or you could just find the exterior angle, and then you wouldn't have as many steps to solve your problem this way, okay?